What's happening, everyone? Welcome back. And if it's your first time here, just plain welcome. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. You all remember when she said she, didn't know what a woman was during her confirmation hearings because she wasn't a biologist. Well, she's not an educator either. And her comments regarding a case out of Maryland, one I talked about on Substack, really kind of bothers a lot of people. In particular, it bothers me. I know Supreme Court justices aren't hanging on my every word. They probably should, but since they don't, you guys get to hear about it. So what happened? All right, let's talk about this case. And it really stemmed from the use of some materials in language arts that kind of pushes the LGBT agenda. It deals with, and these are for young kids, but it deals with characters who are gay or trans or something like that. And a lot of parents were very upset. Not just Christian parents, a lot of Muslim parents in this Maryland county were not happy. In particular, it was also the fact that they could not opt their children out of this kind of thing. It would have, you could do that for sex ed, but there was no option. And they sued. And rather than go, okay, school board was like, rather than go, maybe we can let you opt out, they decided to fight it. And now it's before the Supreme Court. They heard arguments earlier this week. The early indications are that the Supreme Court is going to find that this is a problem. Probably require an opt-out, which is less than ideal. These materials shouldn't be in there in any way, shape, or form. But, I mean, that's the minimum, right? That's the minimum that should be allowed. But, Justice Jackson, she said something that just boggled my mind. Because, you see, she doesn't think you should opt out. She just thinks you should do something completely different. Let's listen to these comments.
The parent can choose to put their kid elsewhere. You don't have to send your kid to public school. I'm struggling to see how it burdens a parent's religious exercise if the school teaches something that the parent disagrees with. You have a choice. You can homeschool them.
Now, is that some let them eat cake bullshit or what? I mean, honestly, this idea that, you can just homeschool your kids. Now, understand, I'm a homeschool dad. I homeschool my daughter. She studies literally right over there while I'm working. Right? I take breaks through the day to check her work and to help her with stuff. Homeschooling's great, and I think anyone who can homeschool should homeschool. But this is Maryland, and Maryland is a lot more restrictive on homeschooling than, say, Georgia is. Right? I have complete discretion on my curriculum. I don't really have to answer anybody. I just have to make sure I teach the subjects that are required, and I have to do it for a certain amount of time. And there's really no logging required except at the end of the year. I have to keep up a progress report. This is what she did for the year. But the truth is that Maryland's not that simple, right? You go under what they call an umbrella or, under a portfolio. And in that case, a lot of times local school systems have discretion to tell you what you can and cannot teach. They can ask to see what the materials you're using at any time. They can literally lay down, you are going to include this stuff. So even that's not necessarily a get out of jail free card. And it's also very funny because she sends her kid to private school, right? She's telling you have to endure this or take on the expense of sending your kid to a private school or homeschooling, which, let's be perfectly honest, this day and age, a lot of people can't because you've got two working parents. Someone's got to watch the kid, right? We don't have the family dynamics we used to have where there were always grandparents around who would watch the kids during the day, or there were other siblings, or there was someone in the family or a neighbor who would watch the kid when you're not around. That's not a thing anymore. So just telling them, you can homeschool really feels a lot like saying let them eat cake. This is the most privileged argument I have ever heard because you do have to send your kid to school. Your child has to be educated. This is law, right? You don't have any discretion in that. And to say, well, you can homeschool when, is she an educational expert? Does she understand the requirements of homeschooling in the state of Maryland? Because while this case has implications nationally, it really is about ultimately this situation in Maryland. And for somebody who can't even identify what a woman is, she seems to think anybody can just homeschool. And while it may not be as difficult, as I thought it was at first, the reality is, though, you've got to have the leeway to make it simple for you. You've got to have the ability to meet your requirements. You have to have the time to do it. Right? I work from home. It's the only way I can do this. Not every parent has that. Not everyone has the ability to work in a place where they can educate their child. Right? It's insane. And to just completely dismiss of, oh, well, you could always do this, and if you don't like it, tough, is bullshit. Right? This is pushing an agenda that does run contrary to multiple faiths. It is not just a Christian thing. Like I said, some of the parents are Muslim. They don't want their kids taught this stuff in either. It seems really asinine in a country that prides itself on religious liberty to tell people that you're going to get taught stuff that runs completely counter to what you believe. And it's not even like, young earth creationism or anything like that. That's more of a niche. A lot of Christians don't believe that, right? There's there are a lot of Christians who accept that the story of Genesis is more metaphorical, that 7 days was not, 7 times 24 hours. That's a completely different animal. And she's just sitting here going, well, you either have to allow your child to continue to be indoctrinated or you can homeschool. It bothers me. But she's also not wrong. Because, see, even if they let you opt out of this class, they'll just find other places to put this indoctrination. They're going to find a way to squeeze it in. Our educational system is flawed because teachers, the educational establishment has taken it upon themselves to believe they are the arbiters of truth, and it is their duty to teach their kids, or to teach your kids, that you suck, right? That you're a colonizer, you're inherently racist, you're this, you're that, you're everything terrible with the world because you're not woke enough, right? We have seen this over and over again. And I could rail on education. But for a Supreme Court justice who did not even have the guts to try to identify what a woman is. Admittedly, she did imply biology played a factor. But she couldn't even say what a woman was, knowing this was probably going to come up before the court at some point. To sit there and go, yeah, you either suck it or, you either suck it up or, you just let your kids be indoctrinated. You don't have to. That's your opt-out. Yeah, I'm not playing that game, and it's a bunch of bullshit. Right? A lot of people are saying that Jackson is just downright evil for this, and I can't disagree. And I don't like calling people evil. I tend to believe people are ultimately motivated by, maybe they're sociopathic, maybe they're broken in some way, but most people are motivated by, good intentions. And I can't see this. And if it is good intentions, it's the same way that, a certain mustached failed painter tried to do good for the German people by exterminating another group of people, who Jackson probably is okay with exterminating too now. But that's just a guess. You know what? That's my take. That's what I think. I want to know what you think. Do me a favor, go on down in the comments. Tell me your take on this. I read too much into it? Or, do you think, she was completely out of line? Something else? Go on down there, let me know. While you're down there, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all that jazz. Every little bit helps the channel. Also down there, you know, I've got my social media, I've got my Substack, I've got my X account. Also got my coffee link down there. If you want to help out the channel in some way, you want to support us, hit me up there. That would be fantastic. If you happen to be at the NRA annual meeting starting tomorrow, that'll be the 25th of April, running through the weekend, I will be there at the Bearing Arms booth in Media Row. I'll also be, you know, venturing around throughout the day. If you see me, stop, tell me hi. Love to hear from you. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up, and I will see you all in the next video.